Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Hegseth, Chairman Kane, thank you both for being here today. Mr. Secretary, your testimony over the last several days before Congress, I've heard you speak about all of your supposed accomplishments from your time at the Pentagon. I have to say, your training at Fox News has let you spin months of dangerous dysfunction and incompetence into catchy phrases like restoring the warrior ethos and increasing lethality. But the truth is, it's really been chaos at the Pentagon under your leadership. You've clearly shown you're unable to manage the Department of Defense, but what I'm most concerned about are three specific areas: your operational incompetence, your managerial incompetence, and your budgetary incompetence. So let's start with operational. According to news reports, in your first week on the job, you got confused in a National Security Council meeting and thought President Trump wanted you to stop all aid to Ukraine. In a well-functioning administration, you would have asked for clarification before making that seismic policy shift, but instead you ordered vital military aid heading to the front lines turned around, costing the U.S. millions of dollars and depriving Ukrainian soldiers of equipment they needed to fight Russia. So, Mr. Secretary, can you explain how exactly you misunderstood such a monumental presidential order?
Hello, Patriots. Welcome back to the Constitution Corner, your go-to channel for defending liberty, upholding the Constitution, and holding our leaders accountable. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to stay informed and engaged.
One of many fake news headlines we've dealt with.
So President Trump told you to halt military aid to Ukraine on January 30th?
As is often the case, highly ideological and very ill-informed reporters love to speculate about things they know nothing about in order to spear President Trump and myself.
So it sounds like actually the reporting is correct, because I will say, if it wasn't a mistake, why did aid restart only a few days later?
Again, we would take complete issue with what would some call reporting and others call a hatchet job.
So why did aid start just a couple days later?
I'm saying the reporting is inaccurate, ma'am.
I don't think that's correct. So let's move on to your managerial incompetence. I think we can see why you misunderstood the president, because you're obviously misunderstanding my questions. Less than a month into the job, you fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, C.Q. Brown, and the chief of naval operations, Lisa Franchetti, without cause. And to this day, you still have not provided an adequate explanation for removing them. As far as I can tell, you fired C.Q. Brown because he was black and Lisa Franchetti because she is a woman. So nearly 4 months later, we still don't have a new nominee for Chief of Naval Operations. News reports, and you can contest it, but I'd love to hear your answer, say that you haven't nominated someone because qualified admirals keep turning the position down. So tell me, Mr. Secretary, when will Congress receive your nomination for the next chairman of the next chief of naval operations?
Ma'am, with all due respect, I would suggest not believing every headline you read.
With all due respect, I'd like your nomination. When will we see it?
There has not a single admiral or any military official has turned down a position that's been
So when will we see your nominee for the chief of naval operations?
In due time, for all the right reasons.
Again, I think we've seen the managerial incompetence. Okay, let's move on to budgetary incompetence. You missed the deadline to submit a draft defense budget to Congress, which makes it impossible for us to complete our work on the NDAA or appropriations, and makes it more likely you'll receive delays in funding you need for new acquisitions, programs, and other priorities. Additionally, you're blowing money on poorly conceived operations and vanity projects for President Trump. Retrofitting the Qatari jet to serve as Air Force One will cost about $400 million. The parade in D.C. this weekend will cost upwards of $40 million. Your bombing campaign in Yemen cost about $1 billion, and a week later they were having missile strikes in Israel. Your operations in L.A. will cost tens of millions of dollars, and you claim to be cutting costs at the Pentagon, but all I see are wasted dollars better spent addressing our most pressing threats like China. So, Mr. Secretary, what priorities have you cut funding for to pay for these projects?
Ma'am, I would just say your list left off securing the southern border.
So, Mr. Secretary, what priorities have you cut funding for to pay for these projects?
We make trade-offs every day, and I would imagine what we want to spend on is quite different than what the previous administration did.
Well, I think
Made
the American
those changes quickly, and they're reflected in this budget, and we're very proud of them.
I think the American people can see why I'm so concerned about this incompetence. Thank you, and I yield back.
Today, we're diving into a recent congressional hearing that has raised serious concerns about the leadership at the Pentagon under Secretary Pete Hegseth. Let's break down the key points and discuss what this means for our national security. That was a powerful exchange between Representative Betty McCollum and Secretary Pete Hegseth. As you can see, the questions posed were direct and pointed, highlighting significant issues within the Department of Defense. Let's unpack these concerns one by one. 1. Operational incompetence. The Ukraine aid fiasco. First up, operational incompetence. Secretary Hegseth faced criticism for halting military aid to Ukraine without proper authorization. According to reports, he ordered the grounding of 11 U.S. military cargo flights delivering weapons to Ukraine, causing confusion among top national security officials and alarming Ukrainian authorities awaiting the munitions. This unilateral decision not only disrupted our support for an ally but also cost the U.S. Transportation Command up to $2.2 million. When asked about this, Hegseth dismissed the reports as fake news, but the facts speak for themselves. 2. Managerial incompetence. Leadership purges and delays. Moving on to managerial incompetence. Less than a month into his tenure, Hegseth fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General C.Q. Brown, and the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Lisa Franchetti, without providing adequate explanations. Nearly 4 months later, the position of Chief of Naval Operations remains vacant, and reports suggest that qualified admirals are turning down the nomination. When pressed on this issue, Hegseth deflected, stating, "In due time for all the right reasons." This lack of transparency and leadership raises serious concerns about the direction of our military. 3. Budgetary incompetence. Mismanagement of funds. Lastly, budgetary incompetence. The Department of Defense missed the deadline to submit a draft defense budget to Congress, making it impossible for lawmakers to complete their work on the National Defense Authorization Act or appropriations. Additionally, Hegseth's administration is spending taxpayer dollars on questionable projects, such as retrofitting a Qatari jet to serve as Air Force One at a cost of $400 million and planning a $40 million military parade. When asked what priorities have been cut to fund these projects, Hegseth responded, "We make trade-offs every day, but fail to provide specifics." Folks, this is not just a matter of policy differences. It's about competence and accountability. Our national security is too important to be left in the hands of individuals who make hasty decisions, lack transparency, and mismanage taxpayer funds. As a right-wing patriot, I believe in a strong, accountable government that prioritizes the safety and well-being of its citizens. It's time for Congress to hold Secretary Hegseth accountable and ensure that our military leadership is competent, transparent, and committed to our nation's security. Thank you for tuning in to the Constitution Corner. If you found this analysis insightful, please give us a thumbs up, share this video with fellow patriots, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Together, we can defend the Constitution and uphold the principles that make America great.